And, you know, somehow or another, this idea entered the consciousness of we've got to do something with the bullocks, because if you're having milk from cows, they're only going to give milk when they give a calf. I mean, at least 50, if not 60% of them are bull calves. By the way, that's Krishna's arrangement. Generally, the statistic is more bullocks than females born. And that's actually needed. You need 2 bullocks to pull a plough, you know. So you actually need more bullocks. So this idea of, actually my original intention of coming to New Govardhan was really just to get some bullocks to train and go travelling and preaching with a bullock cart. I thought that would be really good preaching. See, I was living in this station wagon, just driving around. I really loved that lifestyle. But you still had to pay for the registration, the fuel, and you know, mechanical repairs, and it wasn't really ideal. I was thinking if I had a bullock cart, it was just travelling around with a bullock cart, we could really just live this really simple life. And even if I wasn't preaching, just a statement of, you know, somebody dressed in devotional clothes, a devotee say, you know, just using bullocks as transport itself is just a statement and preaching on its own. So this was something that was really an intense desire that I had, and I had for many, many years. And I even went around the country, you know, collecting bullock carts, had sheds of them at the temple, right, thinking, yeah, we'll just blitz, we'll have a blitz, we'll just train up all these bullocks and we'll go travelling and preaching, right? But, and I have to give Yaksha or Damodar Pandit the credit for this. He said, why don't you do, you know, he was a Bhakti program leader there. He said, why don't you do something, why don't you do something in the garden? No. I didn't consider myself to be any kind of a gardener. I thought that was, you know, a little bit too low class. You know, a preacher, that's what we've got to do, we've got to preach, you know. So even though I wasn't making much progress, I was training bullocks up, and I had this idea of, you know, I had these big wagons, and I thought, yeah, we'll do it like the old days in Australia, big teams of bullocks and a wagon and everything like that. Maybe we'll have a few of those, you know. But it was pretty hard to train up a team of bullocks that you could trust with a wagon on the roads. And the clinch came in, I think it was 1988. We had teams of bullocks in the Banana Festival parade in Wollongbar. Now Lugudi had gone in for a number of years with 2 bullocks in a cart, and that was always well received. And so that particular year we decided we'll just do a blitz on the parade. So there was a devotee, Ram Bhadra, unfortunately he's now deceased, but he had a team of bullocks of 8. I had a team of bullocks of 8. He had a wagon, I had a wagon. I think there was Tuckle had 2 bullocks in a cart. Lugudi had 2 bullocks and a coach. And there we were in the parade. Now, getting ready for the parade. So the day before, I'm just explaining these things, just how intense it can be. The day before, Rambhadra and I, we left the farm around about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He had a team of 8, I had a team of 8. We left the wagons behind. We just dragged them into town the next morning to the starting point of the parade, and we were going to hitch the bullocks on. So we left. By the time we got to Bray Park, which is still another Bray Park is still another good 5 or 6 kilometres from the point of start of the parade, it had already gotten dark. And here we were with 16 bullocks winding up the road, which is like, you know, that road just coming up into Bray Park. It's like cliffside, you know, narrow road, dark. And here we are with 16 bullocks on the road. And then we had to find a place to stay for the night. So I had to go door to door, knocking, asking for a place to put these bullocks for the night. So anyway, an old bullockie, by Krishna's grace, happened to have a paddock just behind his house, and we put them in there for the night. So next morning, got up early, made an appearance in Mangalarti, but started chanting my rounds, but started getting light, you know, and I'd only done, I don't know, 10 rounds or something, and I had to go and check on those bullocks, see if they were all right, they're not getting out. So then we yoked them up, walked them to the starting point of the parade, which was on the other side of the river, the other side of the bridge, and we integrated with the parade, and the team I had was right at the end. And I was pulling this big wagon that weighed 2.5 tons, right? But it was a very good wagon. It was built by the most reputable wagon makers in Australia at St Mary's at the time, called Bennett Brothers, and they had a unique sort of a system of a double turntable which prevented the fully laden wagon from capsizing, going too sharply around a corner if the bullocks happened to go a bit too sharp. So that had gotten out the middle of Whoop Whoop in Forbes in New South Wales, and I remember the gentleman who sold it to me, and I paid $200 for it, and it only cost I think $70 to get it shipped up from Forbes. So that particular day on the parade was actually in a Odyssey, I believe, and I was very much in anxiety, but I will have to admit, Ligeti and I are God brothers and we love each other. But I had taken exception to the way, just due to my nature and envy and everything, I really thought I could do better than him, and I knew better, right? So he had 2 bullocks in a cart, but I had 8 bullocks in a big wagon, you know? So there we are, all lined up, but I hadn't finished my rounds, and even now I haven't, but it's okay. I've still got a few hours to go, you know, to finish them. So normally it's a good point, and this is a point I want to stress, and I'll get to this point, that really finish the rounds before you do your devotional service. Papa did indicate that. One time a devotee had asked him, is it all right to finish my rounds in the afternoon? Papa said, no, not all right, in the morning. You know, when I was really in a lot of anxiety because I had this big wagon, right, and there were people everywhere, and off the parade went, right, so there were 5 teams we had or something like that, all sprinkled in amongst the parade, and I don't know if the organisers got a bit jittery just because of the team I had or because they thought, you know, enough's enough, but I was right at the end of the parade, and look, the bullocks were a bit nervous, but I had taken the leaders in a few times, and you know, you have to direct them by voice commands, and they'd had a fair bit of practice, but they didn't really like crowds, and I can understand exactly why, you know. So off we went. So when you're turning a corner, you know, when you're going behind a truck, a big long truck turns a corner, you'll notice that it goes a little bit wide because the trailer's going to cut the corner, right? So I had to do that with the bullocks. I had to go a little bit wider so that, you know, they wouldn't cut the corner, and you know, the wagon wouldn't have to go across the curb because people were sitting on the curb. So anyway, I can picture the route in my mind, but we go across the bridge, and you know something, even that bridge and a lot of bridges, they have, you know, they're built in sections so they can expand, so there's usually sometimes a little bit of a gap. It might only be a quarter of an inch, but that's like a quarter of a mile for bullocks, you know. They just don't walk over something like that, they jump. Right, they'll balk, and then they'll just think, you know, maybe it's going to open up and swallow me or something, or they jump across. So I had to get across that, you know, obstacle, and then we came across the bridge, and then we're supposed to, there's a roundabout, and then we turn right, and there's another roundabout, we turn left, and we go down the main street, and over up to the showgrounds. So everything was kind of going all right. Rambaja's team went through, and all the bullocks have to do is just stick in the middle and, you know, avoid people, but anyway, I got to that particular corner. The bullocks actually wanted to turn around and go back, and I had to stop, go up and placate them, you know, calm them, and then go off again. And we did that. We went around the corner. Sure enough, we took it wide, but people were going, uh-oh. So, you know, the organisers are there with walkie-talkies and everything, so when I got to the next roundabout, instead of turning left, they asked me to turn right, exit the parade, and, you know, don't take the risk. So that was like a momentous, you know, moment, a big sort of a lesson to learn, that whole pie-in-the-sky idea of, kind of romantic idea of travelling with big teams of bullocks and everything like that, is just not on. And why would we subject those bullocks to all of that anyway? Because Srila Prabhupada subsequently, although he made statements like to Srila Gopinatha Maharaj, introduced hundreds of millions of these carts all over the world. So that was like my mantra, you know. if we could do that, that would, really be an expression of, simple living and, cow protection, right? But it also said later on to Yogeshwar Prabhu, I think, no, Dhananjaya. So Dhananjaya says, so, shall we start using bullock carts? Prabhu said, yes, no. First of all, make this community project perfect. Another time he said, you go 10 miles this side, 10 miles that side, 10 miles this side, 10 miles that, with bullock carts, from your community base. You can distribute books and preach and everything, right? So really, when Prabhupada said certain things, they have to be taken into the context of the whole picture. What really does come first? Does the hundreds of millions of bullock carts all over the world comes first, or do we introduce communities and the bullocks work out of those communities? And even then, the real thing is to engage the bulls in agriculture. And when you're self-sufficient, then you've got a peaceful frame of mind and you've got something to show people, and then you can go traveling and preaching. So everything has to be done. There's a time frame, time separating. So